Welcome to the Cosmic Chosen channel. Before you ever took your first breath, they were already afraid of you. So afraid, in fact, that they launched a plan, not against you directly, but against the womb that would carry you. The Illuminati didn't need to eliminate you. They tried to reprogram you. They planted fear, confusion, and trauma into your bloodline before your name was even written, hoping they could dilute the prophecy encoded in your DNA. But here's what they didn't expect. You survived the rewrite. They thought if they got to your mother, they could interrupt your mission. That if they flooded her life with pain, instability, or darkness, it would distort your light. But you came through the storm, not untouched, but undefeated. And now, you're not just healing the wounds they caused, you're awakening the memory they tried to erase. Let's get real. They thought your silence meant success. They mistook your stillness for surrender. But psychological research shows that the most dangerous force in any room is the one who waits. Because when a chosen one finally reacts, it's not emotional chaos, it's spiritual correction. It's karma wrapped in human flesh. They launched a war before you were born, but they underestimated the storm building in your soul. And now that you're remembering, now that the veil is lifting, they're praying behind closed doors, hoping you never realize who you really are. Too late. The countdown ended, and the thunder is carrying your name. First of all, the anger of the chosen one is ancestral rather than petty. A selected person's anger isn't just any emotional outburst. It's not you being theatrical to gain attention or getting upset about little matters. It's far more profound. It has ancestry. You are the culmination of centuries of unsaid suffering, injustice, treachery, and quiet struggles that have been passed down through generations. When a chosen one is pushed too far, it's not just about what happened at that precise time. It's about all that has been endured, suppressed, and tolerated, not only in your life, but in the lives of those who came before you. Most people are unaware of this. In actuality, a lot of the folks you meet don't have that type of burden. They certainly deal with their own problems, but they are not responsible for the spiritual healing of ancestral wounds, the breaking of generational curses, or the balancing of their bloodline's energy. You do. Therefore, it bears a force that no one is prepared for when you eventually hit your breaking point. Not only is it your rage, but it's also your great-grandmother's unsaid sorrow, your ancestors' unheard pleas, and the pain your family had to endure and still living with. Like an unexpected tidal surge, it all bursts through you. It shocks individuals on a level they cannot articulate because of this. It affects not just their ego, but also their spirit. It's not a normal dispute, petty fallout, or disagreement. Therefore, they experience it in ways they can't explain. Something old, something mystical. They are shaken because it exposes the truth about what they have done, not just to you, but also to the world, to those who are similar to you, and to individuals they believed would never speak again. They are reminded by your fury that the day of retribution they said would never come is right in front of them. The tears flow because your anger revealed them, not because you injured them. They now have to deal with the fact that it proved they were never as untouchable as they thought. Second, rather than being chaotic, the fury of the selected is surgical. A chosen one's rage isn't chaotic or wild. Yelling, reversing roles, or making a spectacle only to get attention are not the point. It's a surgical procedure. It's accurate. This type of retribution doesn't spend time on meaningless threats or small chat. Because you don't respond as they anticipate, people mistake your patience for weakness. You don't lose your cool over little slights or betrayals. You remember, you observe, and you analyze. When individuals insist on putting the rope around their own necks, you give them it, and when it's time to move, you hit the mark. That's the reason it's so eerie. Your anger isn't arbitrary. Petty envy, insecurity, or the urge to prove something aren't its driving forces. It originates in a state of clarity. You are aware of your actions, their motivations, and the precise consequences of your choices. You don't waste your time on unimportant individuals. You don't reply to every insult or answer every rumor. However, you react in a way that makes it clear that someone has crossed that last boundary. When you decide you've had enough, the energy changes, so no one needs to wonder if you're serious. It's about stillness, followed by irrevocable action, not about yelling. Those who believed they were in a position of authority soon discovered that they were playing checkers, while you were putting out a chessboard they had no idea existed. Because of this, people continue to think about your anger long after the incident has passed. It's the accuracy of your answer, not the intensity of your rage. You target their delusions, their well-crafted lies, and the false impressions they project to the outside world rather than their ego. And when you reveal that, it's terrible because, although they were expecting mayhem, you gave them repercussions, and those were far more powerful than any argument. Number 3. Because your energy contains their mirror, they are afraid of it. It's not because you're noisy, aggressive, or erratic that others dread your anger. It's because you become an unavoidable mirror when you eventually speak up. Under all their carefully constructed facades, artificial compassion, and phony confidence, you reveal the true them, and most people can't take that sort of candor. Someone insulting you out of rage is one thing, but someone like you calmly and boldly lays out the facts about them in a way that makes denial impossible. The problem with chosen ones is that their energy naturally absorbs what others are trying to conceal. Even when they act differently, you can tell whether someone is insecure, cunning, envious, or harboring unresolved guilt. You may attempt to be kind and keep quiet about it for a while, but the minute someone pushes you too far, you stop complying. And what terrifies them is that when you do speak, you don't simply talk about what they did. You show them who they really are. People weep like crocodiles when you take away their capacity to act like they're acting. You reveal the aspects of them that they wished no one would ever see. You make them face their own reflection, something they have been avoiding for years. Your anger thus strikes in a new way. There is no way out of it. It originates from a place of ruthless reality rather than petty sentiment. Giving them a mirror with all of their shortcomings, lies, and fears exposed is more than simply reprimanding them. They then understand that they are powerless to change the story, spin it, or turn it back on you. They now have to cope with a side of themselves that they didn't want the public or even themselves to witness, which is when the phony tears begin to fall. Not out of guilt, but out of fear. You were the one who got them to look. Fourth, the vulnerability they said didn't exist is exposed by your anger. People love to pretend they don't need you when they're dealing with a chosen one. They'll act as though your energy isn't carrying the room, minimize your presence, and disregard your value. They will act as though you are interchangeable, make crude remarks, and engage in small-scale mental games, all while covertly taking advantage of your brightness. The problem is that until you decide to back off, some people don't understand how much they were depending on your spirit, and then everything starts to fall apart. Your anger isn't always evident. Sometimes it manifests itself in the way you become silent. Stop showing up. Stop returning calls. Stop providing advice. and stop giving to those who have simply come to take advantage of you. People are more shaken by its absence than by any argument. Without the safety of your power to hide behind, they are left to handle things on their own. All of that independence they boasted about is suddenly shown to be a fabrication they made to deal with the reality of how much they needed you. You reveal their dependence the instant you take a step back. You disclose that the self-assurance they displayed was supported by your unwavering presence, patience, and support. Additionally, they are forced to sit in the identical void they pretended didn't exist when you strike back or withdraw. The performance breaks down so quickly because of this. Not because they miss you, but because they miss the way you made them feel about themselves. That's why those crocodile tears appear. They begin to see how vulnerable their small world was in your absence. Every false identity they constructed and every illusion of control they maintained crumbles the moment you stop complying. What remains is the aspect of themselves that they denied existed. The vulnerability they vowed never to have. You just stopped carrying them, and that was enough to bring their entire performance to a complete end without breaking them. Number 5. You refused to betray yourself, which is why they labeled you tough. Labels like difficult, problematic, and too much are frequently applied to people they cannot manage. In reality, though, they are saying, "You won't let me get away with my usual nonsense." Most people live their lives avoiding confrontation, even if it means compromising their morals. Because they have been taught that speaking up means losing people, and that being liked is more important than being whole, they will remain silent when someone crosses a line. They will minimize manipulation, laugh off disrespect, and swallow betrayal in order to maintain harmony, not because they don't feel it. You don't play that game, though. When disagreement means defending oneself, you don't fear it. Subtle attacks masquerading as jokes are unacceptable to you. Just because someone close to you is manipulating you doesn't mean you should tolerate it. You face problems head-on because you cherish your tranquility too much to allow it to be tainted by false energy, not because you want drama. Additionally, people become alarmed when you refuse to compromise yourself in order to appease others. Because they're not accustomed to someone establishing limits without expressing regret, they refer to it as rage. Since you don't put up with unfair treatment, they call it attitude. They claim that you are challenging because you refuse to engage in the tacit understanding that most people have, which is to simply put up with toxicity for show. You won't compromise yourself to keep up one-sided, phony, or suffering-inducing relationships. They are scared because you have the guts to make your own decisions. You don't need their approval, you're not looking for validation, and you're totally okay with burning a bridge to keep your peace. People who depend on social masks, control, and manipulation to survive are at risk from that kind of freedom. They attempt to portray you as the issue, but they know deep down that you are simply not someone they can control. 6th, rather than being vindictive, the wrath of the chosen one is sacred. People love to pretend that it's some petty, ego-driven personal reaction when a chosen one finally reaches that breaking point. However, they are unaware that it is sacred. Getting even, proving your point, or using your power for pride are not the goals of your wrath. Through you, it's divine correction encased in human feelings. You are moving out of alignment, not out of resentment. Retaliation is not the same as restoration, and you proceed according to sacred time. Most individuals believe they are untouchable because they spend so much time walking about unchecked. Because others around them are too afraid, too obliging, or too reliant to hold them responsible, they deceive, manipulate, and betray with little to no repercussion. But a selected one isn't constructed like that. When you eventually respond, it's not some spur-of-the-moment rage tantrum. It's the universe's way of letting them know their time abusing phony authority is up. You become the conduit karma uses to deliver delayed messages. That's why it disturbs people so deeply. It's not just about what you said or did. It's about what it represents. It's a signal that the days of unfettered conduct, deception, and illusions are done. It's a shift in energy they can feel in their bones, and no matter how they attempt to minimize it, deny it, or spin it to others, deep down they know. They realize they've crossed one too many lines. They realize what's occurring isn't random. They simply never believed it would come via you. People don't cry because you harm them. They weep because, in that moment, they understand the artificial power they possessed over events, people, and narratives has expired, and there's no getting it back. A chosen one's rage is different from ordinary anger in that it always hits where it's intended to, while the former damages egos and the latter rearranges lives. Seventh, what shouldn't have been destroyed is destroyed by your anger. It's not chaos for the sake of chaos when a chosen one becomes enraged. Lashing out isn't done only to create a commotion or create noise. It's accurate. It's deliberate. It moves with the precision of a force that understands what must be revealed and what must be cut loose. Your rage kills things that shouldn't have existed in the first place, not merely those that happen to fall apart. It gets rid of the toxic relationships, persons, lies, and illusions that infiltrated your life under the guise of belonging. Some individuals only succeed in your society because you were too generous to doubt their existence, which is the problem. You disregarded the warning signs, gave them the benefit of the doubt, and offered justifications for actions you ought to have criticized earlier. People seldom want to acknowledge that some of the things that fall apart beneath your anger had no right to be in your presence in the first place. They were founded on dubious premises, phony allegiance, lopsided enthusiasm, and tacit disdain. Everything fake starts to break apart the moment your soul becomes tired. Parasites that pretended to support you and fed off your light are eliminated by your rage. It eliminates the untrue stories others have created about you in an effort to shape how other people perceive you. In order to keep you tiny, it destroys corrupted systems of unwritten laws, fictitious alliances, and hidden agreements. It feels as though reality itself resets around you when you eventually let go of that energy. Things begin to change. You suddenly lose people you thought would never leave. The stories that people vowed to follow your name begin to fall apart. The true nature of relationships you believed you needed is revealed. It's correction, not destruction. The universe is using your anger to purify your surroundings and make everything that wasn't real fall apart. People will accuse you of being careless, cold-hearted, or cruel, but they know in their hearts that it was long overdue. The lies were comfortable, and you had the gall to break them, which is the only reason it feels so violent. Eighth, they made fun of your generosity and neglected your teeth. When people believe you won't retaliate, they become very bold. They mistake it for softness when they see your generosity, your capacity for forgiveness, and your innate tendency to be forgiving. They believe you will put up with anything, continue to be understanding, continue to mend things you didn't cause, and continue to carry those who harbor deep-seated animosity toward you. The issue is that they only witnessed one aspect of you. They saw your patience as consent and your quiet as capitulation. They were unaware that wolves do not growl at every threat that comes their way. Silence is the hallmark of real authority. It waits, observes, and selects its moment. When you eventually show your fangs, It's not because you're feeling impulsive. Rather, you've determined that someone has to see what happens when you push too hard. The same jaws who made fun of your empathy begin to shake at that point. When they see the side of you they never thought existed, the same individuals who scoffed at your generosity suddenly become very silent. Actually, the reason your anger works so well is because it doesn't happen very often. You offer them every opportunity to make amends, be truthful, and treat you with respect. You fail to consider the instant reactions of others, which is why your last outburst is so destructive. It's not simply rage. It's the culmination of years of restraint. It's all the insults that have been absorbed, the betrayals that have gone unnoticed, and the quiet sacrifices that suddenly come to light. They begin to worry because they know deep down that you are the one person they cannot afford to lose, not because they didn't see it coming. They have now earned your teeth in addition to losing your sympathy. When individuals discover that the person they believe to be kind is actually the one they should have avoided crossing, it serves as a harsh reminder. Number 9. Their unconscious shame is triggered by your anger. Your anger is a mirror, not only a response to a slight or betrayal. It's more than simply what you say or do. It's what those things stand for. When you're upset about everything that person has done to other people, everything they've gotten away with, and everything they've told themselves they could hide. Your rage has the capacity to expose the deep-seated guilt, the wrongs they have rationalized, and the betrayals they have downplayed or disregarded. They are abruptly compelled to face their actions, as if a spiritual alarm had gone off. They have actually been gliding along, living in a cocoon where their behavior hasn't really had any repercussions. They have persuaded themselves that the manipulation was appropriate, the falsehoods were unharmful, and the injuries they caused were only incidental. However, when you let out your anger, the world manifests itself in your form rather than simply you calling them out. It serves as a reminder that nobody is ever completely immune to the consequences of their conduct. It's so intolerable because your rage forces them to confront the things they believed they could ignore. What your anger represents is more important than what they did to you. You stand for the atrocities they have done to others, the promises they have broken, and the trust they have betrayed. You are more than simply a person they have hurt. They feel as though the repercussions they vowed never to experience are right in front of them when you eventually respond. They believed they could manipulate it, outwit it, or avoid it. But you're not only responding, you're the personification of everything they've been trying to avoid. It pierces so deeply because of this. They are struggling with more than just your rage. They are also unable to shake the weight of their own guilt that has now surfaced. The story is no longer within their control. That fact is what shocks people to their very core, and you have become the live evidence that the cosmos never forgets. Number 10. They weep because you are the only person dealing with their problems. People frequently underestimate your presence's influence. They believe it has nothing to do with your energy, your compassion, or your appearance. However, they are unaware that your very existence has served as a barrier, a silent power that has kept the darkness at bay. Whether they realized it or not, your energy has changed the environment, eliminated the poison, and controlled their inner demons each time you've entered a room. You were the buffer, but they were unaware of it. It was you who kept their darkest impulses, their fears, their shame, and the aspects of themselves they couldn't confront, hidden. They knew it, twisted as they were. They may not have acknowledged it out loud, but they knew in their hearts. They put you to the test, pushed you, and attempted to destroy you while taking advantage of the covert defense you offered. Because you were there, either deliberately or subconsciously, serving as a filter, they were never forced to face the full extent of their darkness. Their demons remained in the background, or at least under control, when you were present. But everything changes the instant you turn away or strike back. The darkness they've been avoiding begins to surge in, and the protection you offered is gone. At that point, the crocodiles start crying, not out of regret or shame, but rather because they immediately recognize their vulnerability. They understand that they destroyed the same barrier they took for granted in their attempt to destroy you. They had to deal with the turmoil they didn't know how to handle after the monsters they believed they had subdued resurface. You offered spiritual protection in addition to emotional safety. They can now see the results of their actions, since it is no longer there. They cry because they are afraid of what they have lost and what they have let loose, not because they are guilty. They didn't grasp the actual power they were playing with, the strength of your protection, because they've been mistaking your compassion and tolerance for so long. They must now confront the very monsters that they ought to have confronted, but were never forced to do so. Number 11. Your anger becomes the closure rather than the search for it. There is no place for discussion, compromise, or waiting for an explanation or apology once you make up your mind that you're done. For you, it's about the finality of your choice, not about closure. The instant you retreat, strike back, or let your anger run wild, it's a decision rather than a request for discussion. The verdict has been rendered, and that's it. There's no dragging things out, no lingering, and no second chances. You've had enough, and won't waste any more energy attempting to mend what has already been damaged. The way you shut the door behind you is what truly frightens people. They don't know how to handle it. They're not used to someone leaving the door uncracked, so they may force it open. Even when they are aware of their mistakes, most individuals are used to prolonging things. They are accustomed to controlling the conversation, making up reasons, and occasionally even anticipating that you would finally allow them to return. However, you don't give them any leeway when you get to the end of your rope. No matter how hard they try, they are unable to open the door when it crashes shut. The method you let them know they're no longer in charge is what affects them, not your anger per se. It seems as though the cosmos itself has closed the chapter when you decide you're done. And no matter how much you plead or weep, you can't open it again. What leaves them reeling is the finality of it. They have no authority over the resolution, the aftermath, or the conditions of the connection. There is no turning back the decision you have already made. Your anger's true power is in demonstrating to them that they cannot control the result, not in punishing them. They are not given the final say. They have no right to force you to remain in an unsettled area. And that finality is really painful for someone who is accustomed to controlling the narrative or manipulating events to suit their interests. Number 12. Your words are not as deadly as your energy drain. It's not your angry words that hurt people. Rather, it's what you don't say and what you no longer provide. Whether they realized it or not, your wisdom, love, enthusiasm, and presence were like air to them. You provided them with unwavering support and a lifeline that let them live in their comfort zones and prosper according to their own terms without ever having to confront their own faults. They assumed you would always be available to help, advise, and heal, so they took everything for granted. However, everything changes the instant you release that energy. The awareness that the same thing that kept them afloat is no longer feeding them comes slowly and suffocatingly. It's not a sudden blow. The stillness is where the real destruction lies. They sense it when you stop being there, when you stop giving of your time, your energy, your understanding. And it's like being suffocated spiritually. Without your light, they are unable to breathe. They cannot operate without your knowledge. Because you served as their anchor, they are unable to even navigate the environment around them in the same manner. Additionally, that withdrawal is deadly. To someone who has depended on your energy to support themselves, it's the coldest thing you can do. It's the gradual demise of everything they used to have access to, not a dispute or a rupture. Their cries are about the emptiness you've left behind, not about what you caused to them. They are grieving the loss of the same thing that they had no idea how to value until it was taken away. The fact sets in. They are left to face the repercussions of their own behavior without you. They are left without the support they formerly took for granted, the healing salve, and the emotional crutches. At that point, the real sadness begins. Not because of what you did, but rather because they no longer had access to you. The one person who gave them courage, love, and direction in their lives. The true hurt comes from losing that connection, and they will continue to bear the scar long after the stillness has passed. Number 13. The appearance of control is shown by the anger of the chosen one. Individuals spend a great deal of time attempting to control, manipulate, or play games with others they believe they can dominate. They employ manipulation to weaken your will, silence to cast doubt on you, and rumor to damage your reputation. They believe they have the secret to managing you. All they need to do is keep pressing the appropriate buttons to keep you quiet, in line, and little. They are unaware that their perception of control over you is really a delusion. And that illusion is totally destroyed when you finally let go your anger. Their games are not necessary for you to play. Arguments, manipulation, and pleading for approval are unnecessary. They can't even enter the dimension where your power resides. And it's as if the curtain they've been hiding behind gets ripped off when you strike back. The fact that they never had authority over you in the first place hits them like a ton of bricks. Your grace, not your quiet, was what they were controlling. They were controlling you because they were afraid of your actual strength, not because of what you did. They are forced to acknowledge that they were never in control or in the driver's seat by your rage. They were little more than illusionists, hoping you would comply. However, the facade is revealed when you quit playing the game and cease putting up with their manipulation. They lose the control they believed they had, and are confronted with the harsh reality that they were attempting to manipulate someone who was functioning on a completely other frequency and was incomprehensible to them. It's so terrible to them because you've reminded them that their power over you was only a fiction, not due of anything you said or did. They discovered that you were never intended to be imprisoned after creating a cage around you out of falsehoods and dishonesty. Your anger was a signal that their control was never real, not a sign of weakness. They then recognize how profoundly they have misinterpreted you. Number 14. Their awareness or doom is triggered by your anger. Your anger is an uncontrollable force that cannot be subdued. It's more than simply a response. It's a catalyst, a spark that may either start a revolution or destroy everything. For some, it's the moment they finally face their own shortcomings, the falsehoods they've been living, and the realities they have been avoiding. It's the wake-up call they've been waiting for. They will take stock of what they have done, reassess their priorities, and develop into something more resilient, self-aware, and grounded in reality. They are shaken to their very core by your rage. Yet, it doesn't shatter them. Rather, it makes them rise, change, and become the person they were destined to be. They see it as the start of a new chapter in their lives, one in which they will at last accept responsibility for their errors and grow from them. Others, however, see your anger as the start of their demise. The mirror you bring up to their face is too much for them to take. The information you just revealed about them is too much for them to handle. And rather than developing, they descend farther into self-pity, illusion, and denial. They will fabricate the story to support their brittle egos, play the victim, and place the responsibility on you. They'll intensify their poisonous actions and attempt to blame others for the situation. The minute they sink even more into their own darkness, too arrogant, too shattered, or too afraid to change, is when they feel your fury. In any case, your anger transforms them irrevocably. They are forced to face the consequences of their actions. You don't care if they rise or fall anymore. You have fulfilled your destiny. You have served as the force, the catalyst, and the mirror that illuminated everything. It is up to them how they decide to respond to it. You are no longer in charge of their change or their downfall. Now that you have revealed the truth to them, it is up to them to choose their course. Ultimately, a chosen one's wrath is a fundamental reorientation of their surroundings rather than only a moment of rage. Whether or not individuals are prepared to confront it, it is the force that changes reality and exposes facts. When you lose your temper, it's never about emotional outbursts or small-minded retaliation. It is purposeful, divine, and has a purpose that extends well beyond the current upheaval. The goal is to clear the air, straighten the course, and demonstrate to both yourself and other people what happens when boundaries are broken and disrespect is allowed to fester. Individuals will respond differently. It will break some people, preventing them from facing their own problems and causing them to delve more into their delusions and harmful habits. The exact energy they previously dreaded will awaken, alter, and empower others as they rise. However, your anger doesn't leave things the same, regardless of the result. It's a profound change that offers the possibility for something more genuine to arise while leaving behind the fragments of shattered illusions. As the selected one, you don't have to struggle to get closure. You don't have to plead for forgiveness. Your presence, your energy, and your anger are more powerful than words could ever be. You are the incarnation of truth, and truth does not seek permission to manifest itself. You are no longer responsible for the individuals who have betrayed you, deceived you, or used your generosity. They will either wake up or fall apart. Your part is done. Your anger was never about destroying. Rather, it was about creating a new reality, one in which you are no longer subjected to deceit, manipulation, or disrespect, and in which your presence and energies are valued. Therefore, allow them to shed their crocodile tears. After experiencing the force of your anger, they will never forget that the universe operates through you and that you serve as a reminder that no one gets away with betraying someone of your quality. So let them attempt to re-establish their illusions. Don't allow this moment pass you by if you feel the weight of these words and the exposed reality. To ensure that you never miss another inspiring message like this, click the subscribe button. These aren't just words, they're insights intended to upend the existing quo and spark change. So please like, comment, and share this with anybody who needs to hear it. You're not traveling this path alone, and together we're creating a community of truth seekers, selected individuals who will not be intimidated or coerced. Make your voice known. Express your opinions and help others in need by sharing this knowledge. There is a reason you are here. Let's ensure that everyone is aware.